Hey, it's Dan. Welcome back. You're watching iAllegedly. And I've got a good one for you today because I have a special guest, Doug, that you guys have heard so much about. Doug has been a friend of mine for over 40 years now. We're aging ourselves, by the way. But and Doug is a foreclosure expert and in every aspect of the foreclosure industry. And we're going to talk about foreclosures today because they're hot news. And I'm very excited because the Economic Ninja and I just filmed a course with you that we're going to be announcing very shortly, and I am thrilled to say the least. So, Doug, thanks for being here, man.
Pleasure to be here, Dan.
Okay. So, Doug, one advantage that I have with certain professionals in my life, and you're a perfect example of this, is that you have done every aspect of the foreclosure industry. Your father was in the industry.
Correct.
You grew up in it. Your son's now a real estate attorney. He's in the industry.
Correct.
Let's talk about, people's most recent experience has been this whole 2008 debacle. And I have real estate professionals that write me and say, oh, it's going to be different this time. Well, what do you think right now?
It's different because of the reasons, but I do see that the market will go down, in my opinion. And the reasons are different than last time. Last time had to do with a lot of the loans that were not suitable for borrowers.
Like ninja loans, like you called them.
Yeah, we call those liar loans. And basically, they were negative amortizations, and they were suitable for house flippers and investors, but not for end user home buyers.
Okay.
So what ended up, these people got into loans that were horrible. Short, introductory, small payment, explodes, from 1,000 to 4,000, and that's the end.
Yeah, people were borrowing $1 million and having a $2,200
with no income verifications.
Yeah, it was crazy. So the difference now, from my experience of what we're seeing, is these rising interest rates are taking a toll on the market right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And we haven't seen capitulation yet because of the lack of inventory has, I think, kept the prices and the demand at a better level than when we see that really the hidden inventory that I believe will be coming after these moratoriums are actually finally completely lifted, and not just lifted, but where we actually get the properties in the system. I think that will change pricing.
Now, a couple things that to discuss that is with COVID, there are people that have not made a house payment in 30 months right now.
Oh, more than that now. Unfortunately, we're coming up on over 3 years and 3.5. So
wow.
If you were at all delinquent prior to March 2020, where they turned off the spigot pretty much, then yeah, you probably are talking about 40 plus payments of delinquency, 40 to 50.
Now, there are people out there that the bank reached out and made an offer.
Correct.
Maybe put the payments at the end. Maybe
incredible
refinance
offers,
the house.
actually, not just offers, but just phenomenal offers. The most common one was that a lot of people did was they just did not make the payments, stuck it to the back of the loan, no penalties, no credit report hit, none of that.
Wow.
But we'll put it, you're 31.
Okay.
Well, the other thing they offered was modifications.
Wow.
For very low interest rates, like around 1.5%, 2%. So some people jumped on that. Wow. So the other percent, there's about 20% from what we've been told that we call radio silent. These people have not responded to any of the outreach of any kind as of now. Supposedly there's one more kick of the can before we're going to finally have to foreclose because there's no other option.
Wow. So these people did nothing. They got the mail. They got notified from the banks. Mm-hmm. Just ignored the bank and didn't do anything. Wow. Think of the interest.
Living free.
Yeah, living free. And think of the interest and no payments and everything that they've experienced. That is crazy.
And here's the funny part, Dan. Theoretically, if these properties still have significant equity, they could lose the property at foreclosure and collect money on the way out the door.
Okay.
Which is incredibly crazy.
I want to back up a couple things with this. Okay, Doug is different. Doug's not a house flipper. Doug is the guy that when we were kids, and in our 18, 19, 20, early 20s, Doug was actually posting houses. Doug has done every aspect of the foreclosure process, from posting the house to doing the sales, conducting the sales yourself. You've also been hired by the banks where they may have a second or third position and the house has equity and they don't want to lose
Correct.
that. So they will send you to the auction with cashier's checks in hand to purchase those homes.
Yes, they do.
Wow.
That's very common. We call that a bid at sale.
Wow.
and that's where the lender will, if you're a second lender and the first happens to be delinquent and go to foreclosure, if you don't protect your interest, you could get your loan could get wiped out.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Which
Wow.
is what they don't want to have happen.
So, but again, you're not, and that's the cool thing about the course is you have a different perspective with this, and we'll talk about this in the coming days and weeks, guys, about that. But so you see things differently. I mean, you told me stories for decades about serving houses and posting houses and everything that's gone into that, and different areas. And just last week, you were telling me where you went to new construction, where they were building homes, and you posted the house.
Big subdivision. Yeah. So they were actually, it makes me think they're going to work it out, because normally when I come up on these subdivisions that are partially built, normally we're there because the project's been abandoned.
Wow.
In many cases. But this was actually, there were many crews out there working and trying to make it happen. So I'm pretty optimistic for their standpoint.
So the other thing, let's talk about commercial loans right now, because we keep hearing about this, and there's so many vacancies. And it's funny, coming to film this video, there were 2 notices from the
sheriff's lockouts of people that actually have been evicted from their properties.
And we're filming this in Newport Beach, and this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy to see, a high-end resort town. And we're in summer now.
Millionaires Row.
It should be packed. It should be busy.
And to see commercial not have full occupancy, and we saw other empty spaces that didn't have notices,
right?
Which makes me concerned as well.
Well, it's just a concern. But here's the thing: not every building owner, owns the building outright. You know that, and these people have loans against them. We've been told that there's $1.5 trillion that has to be refinanced between now and 2025, or there's going to be a problem.
And it's going to be a problem because if rates do not subside, refinancing is going to be extremely expensive.
And difficult, if not impossible, because the one thing the bank looks at is, your occupancy, the rents that you're getting, the
market value of the property, of
everything.
the asset.
Everything is taken into consideration. And people are like, oh, it's, they're going to refinance it. They'll always do that. No, they're not going to keep throwing good money after bad money and not getting paid back.
And that's what makes this market different, Dan. I think the commercial foreclosures are going to lead the residential. As last time it was heavy residential and very little commercial, I think we will see a much higher degree of commercial foreclosures than we saw back 15 years ago when we were crazy busy and auctioning basically 100 houses a day in Los Angeles County.
You would tell me stories about how you would get notified, and like you said, it's getting busier each week. But back in the heyday, when things were crazy, you would get how many files in a day?
Oh, we would have in a typical day 300-400 sales scheduled, and
foreclosures scheduled for sale to be liquidated.
But to be honest, only about 60 would get actual bids.
Okay.
The rest would either be postponed due to either bankruptcy, mutual agreement, a forbearance agreement of some kind, or in some cases the property canceled, where they either came current with the payments to the lender, or they refinanced and got a new loan to pay off the previous. Those are the most common ways.
So, but people can, people can stall a sale. They can file bankruptcy.
Correct.
They can have a deal worked out with the lender, partial payments, things like that can postpone sales. But inevitably, you got to pay up. I mean,
at some point, usually,
and this never in history have we had a time when people did not make their house payment and were not thrown out on the street.
Yeah, and it used to be I'll age myself, obviously, since we already did with our video a little bit. Back 15, 20 years ago, even sooner than that, people would, once a borrower would miss 2, maybe 3 payments, most lenders would start the foreclosure process, which means they would file a notice of default to start the foreclosure time clock. That was very common to do. Now,
one thing that used to be great was you could go on Zillow and it would say pre-foreclosure, and you could click on an address and it would actually show you that. Now it's funny, I'll do a map grid and it'll say pre-foreclosures, 3 pre-foreclosures, and I'm trying to search and you really can't find them right now. They're not showing them like they used to. We know they're out there. We know these people are not making their payments out there. Not
Right.
everybody. So,
Well, one of the things we have to remember, until the notice of default is filed in that county, it's just internal delinquency between borrower and lender.
okay.
And nobody really would know unless you were involved with the lender, somehow had proprietary information. But it's not public domain until the notice of default is recorded.
Wow. So one thing that, and we've talked about this extensively, and we've talked about this on the channel too, is that people that are interested in real estate, one thing that I always recommend is that you inspect the neighborhood. You look at, what you're getting. You pre-inspect the property, and now when someone's in foreclosure, it's not wise to go knock on the door. Hey, I hear you're in trouble. Let me talk to you about buying your house.
Yeah.
There are some people that do things like that.
Yeah, they do things like that as well.
But I really recommend that you use caution, and you are, when I call it a private company, you're a private auction company where you guys represent the banks that you have a myriad of banks that you represent around the country.
Mhm.
And but inspect the property if people are interested in foreclosures. Take a look at the neighborhood.
Oh yeah, try and find out more you can find out, the better off you are. Information's your friend. Go different times of the day.
Right, just like I recommend. The night, we had rain
really
in the last
see,
week.
yeah.
See what the house looks like in the rain. See if it floods. I had two people that are subscribers to the channel. One of them bought a house that was the worst decision of our life because there was a school. We thought it was no big deal, but then they had night school and couldn't park in front of their own house and wanted to move a month into living there. And you see everything by doing that.
Definitely.
And then the one thing is that you call title bombs. So people need to look at the title and make sure that the title's clear.
You cannot overemphasize title issues enough. Title issues will ruin what otherwise could be a great deal.
Okay.
And the most common title, what we call title bombs, would be someone mistakenly showing up to our auction, bidding on a junior lien, which would be a second, not knowing there is a first lien, first deed of trust open ahead of them. That most likely is delinquent as well and is owed more money than even what's stated, because those back payments get put onto the
And that
total
compounds
debt
too.
and compounds at a default rate.
So let's just use crazy figures. So
Okay.
somebody's got a $50,000 second and a $350,000 first.
Mhm.
Let's just use that.
Okay.
And people are bidding this second, and then they buy it for $105,000, thinking they bought this house for $105,000.
So what they did is they bought a place for $455,000 with the money that they'd only pay. The good news is they only have to pay the $105 to us at the auction.
Okay.
But that other money is still owed, and it's underlying debt that they will not be able to sell the property or close or anything without that loan being cured.
Wow. Something I'm very excited about is that we filmed a course called Real Estate Foreclosure Pro. Myself, the economic ninja, and Doug, the foreclosure expert. Take a look at it today. The link is below. This is different than any other foreclosure course you've seen in the past because it's not just a house flipper. Doug has grown up in the foreclosure industry. He posts the houses, he runs the auctions, and he also bids for the banks to maintain the properties. He truly is the expert in foreclosures. There is a limited time to buy it at a reduced price. It ends in just a few days. Take a look at the link below and take a look at Real Estate Foreclosure Pro. We're very proud of it. Now, we're seeing that foreclosures are up, and I've heard 7%, 8%. I've heard all these different figures over the last month. But the thing that's fascinating is the trajectory is not subsiding. It's not leveling. It's going up. So that's what we're seeing right now.
And it's going up slowly because of basically, a lot of this has to do with the government has been extremely, to say patient would be an understatement. And I think now we're finally coming up on the last 20% of the people that haven't taken any of the solutions that have been offered.
Wow.
As of now.
So, guys, I'm really excited. The Ninja and I filmed these courses with Doug, and I cannot wait to share them with you. You guys will have to use the link below to take advantage of the course also. But man, oh man, it's so great talking to you, because
It's great to be here.
as we look at different pockets and you see areas that were once explosive, like Florida. Florida's got a ton of houses available right now.
Yes.
And you're seeing people starting to flee Florida. And I don't want to say the word flee, but they're starting to leave Florida and they're starting to sell, but there's a tremendous amount of houses available. And you're going to see the foreclosures catch up to everybody.
We got to remember the properties, the areas that did go up the most are vulnerable to some backtrack.
Yeah.
So Florida, California,
Texas,
Las Vegas, where I'm from. I've already noticed in our area, we have seen about a 15% property value.
Wow. So during COVID, we saw houses jump 15 to 20%, as high as 36. I saw, some areas in Phoenix were 42%.
Yeah.
Crazy
Very
numbers.
unsustainable numbers.
That's the thing. When 2006, 2007 was going, some of these banks said that these houses would go up 6 and 8% a year in perpetuity. And it's like, you just can't have that.
Yeah, and you get 5 years of appreciation in one. So
Yeah.
that's a sign of also kind of an unhealthy market to some degree.
A bubble. Yeah, absolutely.
So even though these properties might drop some, obviously they're still going to have a lot of equity in them. So people
have a
lot of equity.
There's a lot of resources out there, and your company's great, and they'll be sharing that on the course. But your big thing with anybody that's interested in foreclosures is to do your own due diligence.
Yeah, if there's a title issue, just do a hard pass on it.
Yeah,
it's because the downside isn't worth the upside.
Okay.
So more due diligence, the better off you'll be.
Yeah, and the greatest line you ever said to me was, sometimes people bid on houses and realize there's a title problem, and the winners are the people that didn't get the property.
Oh yeah, the winner is the guy that did not get the property,
Yeah.
and the loser is the person that actually had to pay for the property and suffer the unfortunate consequences.
So yeah, okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. There's going to be so much more information about the course. Take a look at the links below. And Doug, thanks for being here.
Oh, well, exciting times coming down for sure. So I look forward to it.
It's going to be an interesting summer.
Yes.
Because the thing that people don't realize also is that, how this is, until 4th of July, it's basically, this is home buying season. Now, one thing I've heard, somebody sent me, a real estate agent on TikTok. It says, we're extending the home buying season this year through summer, through Labor Day. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way, guys.
After school started.
Yeah, so doesn't work that way. So it's going to be very interesting. Please don't forget to like the video. As always, please subscribe, join our email list. And Doug, thanks for being here, man.
Pleasure, Dan. It's great.
Always,
I look forward to being here again with you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.